right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Economic Development Commission for Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. If we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, audience. Roll call, Ms. Miranda.
Good evening, Honorable Chair. I'll proceed with taking the roll call. Commissioner Barlevy,
Present.
Commissioner Hu,
Present.
Commissioner Taglay,
Present.
Chair Reyes.
Present.
All commissioners noted present. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miranda. Agenda item 4, public comments and suggestions. This section is reserved for public comment on the consent calendar and items not listed on the agenda, but that are within the subject matter of the jurisdiction of the commission. Do I have anybody here this evening for public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Agenda item 5, consent calendar. Items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes from the Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 regular Economic Development Commission meeting?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Chair Reyes, if I may,
oh yeah, go ahead.
electronic voting will be activated.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for the electronic votes. There we go. Please place your vote.
And the vote passes 4-0. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. New and old business. Agenda item 6A, review and consideration of reorganization of Economic Development Commission, selection of a vice chair. Commissioner Taglay.
Yes. Are nominations open?
Yes, we're open for nominations.
Okay. I will nominate Al Barlevy.
And I will second that. So we have a first and a second. Any other nominations for Economic Development Commission vice chair? Okay, seeing none, I will close the nominations. Ms. Miranda, if we could vote, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So Commissioner Barlevy has been nominated by Commissioner Taglay and seconded by Chair Reyes. Electronic voting is active. And the vote passes 4-0. I now call Commissioner Barlevy, Vice Chair of the Economic Development Commission. It is my pleasure to announce Vice Chair Barlevy. Congratulations.
Thank you to member Aris and to Al Reyes for seconding, and thank you for the confidence. Appreciate it. I'm new, but I already hit the ground running. Thank you.
Absolutely. Congratulations. I believe we have to break now for 1 minute while we reorganize the chairs. We're going to be in recess for about 2 minutes. All right. Thank you for your patience. First and foremost, congratulations to Vice Chair Barlevy. Welcome aboard and welcome to the Vice Chair position. As always, a point of personal privilege. Again, I am very excited. Two things. Well, first, I'm very excited about this commission. Grace, you've done a fantastic job, and you and I are going to share ideas forever. That's for sure. Commissioner Taglay, all the way back to our football days, and Vice Chair Barlevy. Again, I don't know when the fifth chair will be here, but at some point we'll have a fifth commissioner. And secondly, we have a massive agenda. For those of you who have not been following the Economic Development Commission, City Council in their infinite wisdom has cut us down to once every other month or once every third month. So our agendas will be longer. We will try to expedite as quickly as possible, but we have to be very cognizant of the fact that the people who come to speak before this commission, whether it's informational or questions they want us to present to council, they need the right to be heard. So the meetings may be a little longer, but you'll only have to see us once every 2 or 3 months. So it's kind of a trade-off. Okay, new and old business 6B, review and consideration of an informational report regarding the Gateway Cities Hub Regional Workforce Development Platform provided by the Gateway Cities Councils of Governments or the Gateway Cities COG. Ms. Miranda.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the Economic Development Commission. This evening, we are honored to have with us Gateway Cities Council of Governments Project Manager Eileen Quinn, who will provide an informational presentation regarding the Gateway Cities Hub. At this time, I would like to invite Project Manager Eileen Quinn to the podium for this presentation. Thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Quinn. The podium is yours.
Hello. Okay, wonderful. Good evening, Cerritos Economic Development Commission. It is wonderful to be here tonight. As Kiana so kindly mentioned, I am Eileen Quinn, a project manager at the Gateway Cities Council of Governments, which convenes 27 cities in Southeast Los Angeles County. And today I'm going to tell you about the Gateway Cities Career Training and Resource Hub. Next slide. So this hub is an online website that was really born out of this project, the Gateway Cities Regional Workforce Development Collaborative, which in turn convenes workforce development service providers to better understand workforce needs, share and promote resources, streamline the pipeline to employment, and ultimately cultivate economic prosperity and increase economic mobility in Southeast Los Angeles County. So it's really important that I bring up the context of this particular hub because we really had a lot of information guiding how the hub is and every single detail of the hub. So this hub was really born out of this collaborative. All these organizations coming together, being able to share information with each other. So these are community colleges, adult schools, trade unions, and any other service organizations, so CBOs, that would provide workforce development services. And they're able to share all this information with each other and kind of network and create ideas together. Next slide. So, as we kind of mentioned, the hub is a website that allows job seekers to compare training programs, identify aid within the Gateway Cities, and locate workforce development resources. Currently, 33 programs are featured from organizations across the Gateway Cities, so those community colleges, adult schools, et cetera, that we had mentioned. And the focus is currently on 5 industry sectors that we found were growing rapidly, specifically within our subregion in Southeast Los Angeles County. So green jobs, allied health, IT, logistics, and then local government jobs. We, as the Council of Governments, do convene and serve city governments, municipal governments. So this is something we were very passionate about integrating within the hub. So this is actually coming, we say next round. Next round is within the next 2 months or so. So get ready for updates. Next slide. So let's go into some highlights of the hub. So I have some screenshots to show you. Next slide. So, we kind of mentioned a little bit about how we were very deliberate and very intentional about what we put into the hub. We didn't just want to list a whole bunch of programs. We wanted to really think about every single detail that was integrated, right? So we asked for input on the hub from 3 stakeholder groups. So first of all, this workforce development collaborative, right? So the members, we had surveys, we had working groups where we really asked, like, what are the challenges? First of all, what are the challenges your participants in your training programs perceive? And then what are your own challenges as a workforce development service organization? We asked job seekers in the community. So in those 27 cities that the COG serves, we sent out an online survey. And we compensated folks to take this survey to hear from their own mouths what exactly they were facing challenge-wise when it came to trainings. And then we went to the Cella Collaborative is an organization kind of similar to the Gateway COG in that they convene nonprofit organizations the same way that we convene cities. So we had a lot of leadership in this room, and we had a lot of kind of subject experts in a lot of different areas, and we had a very in-depth listening session with them where we were able to dive deep into these workforce development questions. So we asked these three stakeholder groups and engaged them to kind of understand better what they wanted in the hub and what would be helpful. Next slide. So the high-level findings we kind of got from our stakeholder groups were the following. So number one, current ways to locate training are piecemeal. Number two, finding resources and getting to intake is taking way too much time. Number three, job seekers didn't know where to start. Number four, people needed education on jobs. And then lastly, cost and timing are prohibitive. Next slide. So for the sub-regional approach, so the problem was current ways to locate training are piecemeal. So the solution is that the hub brings together resources from organizations all across our sub-region. So I'm biased. I work for a sub-regional government entity, right? So I think that sub-regional is really the sweet spot geographically of how we can approach these challenges, right? I think, you can go to Cerritos College and then bring, your upskilled kind of techniques and your knowledge and then go to another city, right? But the thing is, when you look from the city level, especially in the Gateway City sub-region, a lot of our cities are really small. You look for these resources within the borders of a small city and you're not going to be finding very much, right? But you try to look for something a little bit larger and you're only finding resources within, say, Los Angeles County. Way too large, 88 cities, right? 27 cities, I think, are perfect. So the sub-regional approach is kind of this perfect in between. Next slide. So the next problem was that finding in resources and getting to intake was taking too much time. So what we did was we tried to make the contact information for intake as specific as possible. So this sounds like a very simple kind of solution, right? Just make sure you find the right number or the right email. But this is surprisingly hard. People would have to navigate, click through page and page and page. And the more clicks you have to do, the less you're likely to follow through with something. And very importantly, for program contacts, we were very deliberate in adding a name. So we really, really tried to find a name to associate with the contact information, because when you find a real person behind this, the program becomes real and you really want to do it and you become motivated to finish out. Moving forward, we're going to try to, in those updates that I did mention in the next couple months, we're trying to add contact information that's more informational. So this is most likely going to be the name, and then something more to direct you straight to registration if you're ready to go. Next slide. The next problem was job seekers didn't know where to start. So they didn't know what trainings to go for. So this next solution was a quiz, a very short quiz to match job seekers to potential training. Once again, we want to minimize clicks. So this quiz also gives us your contact information at the end so we can follow up as well. Next slide. So these questions are asking things about your strengths and your interests, right? So which sector are you interested in? What comes naturally to you? But also realistically, what can you handle in your schedule and in your lifestyle in terms of trainings, right? So when can you commit? Is it nighttime? Is it only online? Is it in person in the daytime? What do you want to do when you upskill? Is it that you want to shift industries entirely, or are you thinking more so I just want to make more money, right? I want to look for something that has economic mobility. So that's kind of where our quiz came from. Next slide. And then the next one was people needed education on jobs. So this is one of my favorites, is this day in the life component, which educated users on a little bit more about the job that they would be getting out of the training. So I really like this one because, once again, the sub-regional kind of identity comes in. We were very deliberate on making this day in the life scroller specific to the gateway cities. So you'll see in this one, I selected this one specifically because it takes place in Cerritos, right? So that first line you see, you're in Cerritos and you're doing your job in Cerritos, right? And then you'll see in the logistics day in the life scroller, you'll see, you're driving down the 710 freeway. All sorts of little things, sites, sounds, smells that you're experiencing to really make this job real to you and to really make this job something that the people of the Gateway City subregion feel is applicable to themselves, right? Next slide. And then lastly, cost and timing are prohibitive. I know this one feels a little bit obvious, but it is something we really wanted to make sure we kept to heart, right? So I remember in one of our listening sessions, someone raised their hand and told me that the biggest challenge that they had was that looking for a job was in and of itself a full-time job. So we want to make sure we streamline this process of finding trainings that fit you, make it as simple as possible, right? So cost, timing, outcomes, and availability of financial aid. These are all the big things that people want to hit on. Those are clearly identified in a standardized way. So next slide. So this is kind of what the page looks like. It's a little small, but you can see like things are identified in weeks. Things are identified in just a dollar cost. You'll see what the outcome is. So when you take this training, you will get this job with this salary and financial aid is available. And then you'll see later like jobs this unlocks, skills you'll build. So things outside of just the profession, but other skills, right? And then you'll see through this training, particularly, what certifications you'll get. So official like paperwork. Next slide. Okay, so the next step, so we are making updates currently, so we're gonna be incorporating those local government jobs. That's kind of the big thing that we really wanted to focus on. But we're also expanding the number of programs and organizations, importantly, on the site. A lot of what my aim is to really expose the people of the Gateway Cities to the breadth of organizations that are available and offering resources to them, right? So even if there's only one program from every single organization, I think that would be great because you look at that one program and then you click through and you realize there's a billion programs that all of these organizations offer. So you're exposed to a lot more than maybe if I just did all 10 programs from one school, right? So that's something I'm trying to focus on. And then additional wraparound services. So another thing that came from our listening group or our listening sessions and our surveys where people were actually saying, training access is really important. These things are really important, but I can't apply for jobs. I can't do my job if I can't take care of my basic necessities. If I can't take care of my children, if I can't pay my rent, if I can't feed myself. So we decided that the next step for this resource hub is also going to include these wraparound resources. So we have a couple of subcategories. So financial aid, this would be anything that gives you money, rental assistance, financial aid for the programs, of course, like FAFSA kind of programs. It's going to be health and family, so like childcare, mental health, other wellness resources. It's going to be, ESL and English classes. I had a gentleman reach out to me in Spanish asking, where are the English classes? Where are the classes in Spanish? So this really came to heart to me. We also have GED HiSET classes. So a lot of these programs that we're looking into and advertising as trainings on the website require a GED or a high school diploma. So it's important that they have the qualifications to then go into these training programs. So we'll offer resources for that. And then lastly, just career guidance. So you'll think professional development. We had a lot of the service organizations talk about how soft skills were important. Dressing professionally, public speaking, those kind of things. And then longer term, we will just integrate employment opportunities. And that's all I have for you. The next thing is you can explore the hub with the QR code, which is also on your flyer. It is www.gatewaycitieshub.org. But thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Fantastic presentation. Questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Hugh, anything? No, thank you. Commissioner Taglay.
Hi, Ms. Quinn. Thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate it. We've had other workforce development programs come speak to us. So it's a pleasure to hear from you in Gateway Cities. I'm curious. You touched on a little bit earlier. There was that map of all of the municipalities that all the services they provide. So I'm wondering. Obviously, these are very valuable services, but as you said, that they're limited resources and there's challenges with costs and timing. So, if you could expand more on what is the relationship between Gateway Cities Workforce Development Program and others that may be offered through community colleges, nonprofits, private, other municipalities? I mean, are you competing for funding? Are you competing for participants? Are you all collaborating to get like how is the relationship, I guess, among all of these efforts, all of which are very much needed, obviously, in this day and age?
You know, that is a really good question because it was a fear I had was that people didn't want to collaborate, that people, these training programs would be in competition with each other. But, to my surprise, to my pleasant surprise, every single one of these organizations are so cooperative and so willing to collaborate with each other. The Gateway Cities COG does not provide direct training ourselves. We simply convene the organizations in this collaborative to share resources with each other, but we're seeing in this collaborative that they're making connections to kind of like pass, if they don't have a certain resource, for example, they'll collaborate with another organization that does have that resource. So they're very much in favor of just trying to help the resident get whatever resources they want, and being able to join a convening and make these connections with each other just helps them do that. And they're not trying to compete with each other. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, good to hear. Thanks. Yeah, definitely much needed with challenges that job seekers are looking for, challenges that are faced in looking for jobs. Certainly much needed service. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Tagle. Vice Chair Barlevy.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Quinn, for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. Where's the funding coming from? Is it coming from the members of the member organization of the Gateway Cities?
It is coming from a California Jobs First Catalyst Phase grant.
So it's from the state?
Sorry?
So it's from the state?
It is from, it's complicated. It's like passed through from the state, but yes, essentially from the state.
So it goes directly from the state, or does it
From
go
the state, and then
to the
it gets
county
state, and then it gets passed down to a collection, another convening of kind of workforce development organizations across LA County called the California Jobs First. It's a California Jobs First grant. Okay. So the California Jobs First LA County convening is kind of what gave us the grant, and then that's fiscally sponsored by the California Community Foundation. But the California Community Foundation doesn't do all of the Catalyst grants, it just does the ones for LA County. Okay. So it's all over the place, sorry.
Okay. And my other question is, when was the original workforce development platform, when was it organized? How long have you been doing this?
The platform or the collaborative? The collaborative began last year, August. The platform launched in June.
So it's relatively new then?
Yes, and that is why we're constantly updating it, because it's fresh, and now is the time.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Quinn, I don't have a question, just a comment. Thank you again for the presentation. I will say this, I'm in my zeal of capitalism sometimes, I tend to say city, county, God, country, which I believe in. But I think the point I took from your presentation was that we have to remember that you're absolutely right, that some of our residents here in Cerritos, which is Southeast LA County, workforce development in Lancaster or Palmdale is probably not feasible for, unless they absolutely have to go there. So I have to keep that in mind that, I thank you for reminding me that sub-regions in the future may be the way to go, not Long Beach to North LA County might be a little unfeasible. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commission.
Moving on. Agenda item 6C, review and consideration of an informational report regarding the first quarter 2026 sales tax update provided by HDL Companies. Ms. Miranda.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the Economic Development Commission. This evening, we are honored to have with us HDL Company's Senior Advisor, Ken Durant, who will provide an informational presentation regarding sales tax trends, forecasts, and an update on the city's first quarter 2026 sales tax results. At this time, I would like to invite Senior Advisor Ken Durant to the podium for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Duran, welcome. The
Thank you so
podium is
much.
yours.
It's my pleasure to be here this evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. So if you can go to the first slide, just as an introduction of who I am, I'm a senior advisor with HDL Companies. I've been with the company for about 6 years, but my career prior to this, I spent 33 years with the city of San Dimas. I started in recreation, moved into administration, and retired as city manager 6 years ago. But I still have a lot to give, so that's why I started working for HDL Companies. So HDL Companies, the first slide, most of you know HDL because of our sales tax analysis that we provide for your city and a number of others. The company's been around for over 40 years, but we also provide services in other revenue areas, including economic development, which is the division that I work for, business license tax, lodging tax, property tax, utility users taxes, and rental registration. So we provide a lot of services to cities in a lot of different areas to help them maximize their revenues. Next slide. So I want to get into your specifically your sales tax projections. I understand that you receive the quarterly newsletter on a regular basis. So that's delivered by our sales tax principals. On a quarterly basis, they analyze your taxes along with individual taxes from other cities, put together a report for your staff, which kind of analyzes what went on in that quarter, takes a look at what some of the trends might be for your city in particular, but also statewide. So this is looking at first quarter, which would be January, February, March of this year. This is the most recent, because there is a lag by the time the data is available for our principals to be able to analyze it and then meet with your staff. So we're looking at first quarter for this fiscal year. Overall, your tax was pretty much flat, which is pretty significant, or pretty much the way that the entire state was. And we also break it down by specific industries. Obviously, autos is a huge industry in your community. Vehicle sales are still slow because of the historically high prices, and now there's becoming issues with inventory. So across the board and across the state, autos and transportation taxes have been pretty flat. Same thing with building and construction. These are building materials and construction materials. Again, fairly flat, if not down a little bit, because the construction market, again, is down right now because of there's home prices are slowing down because of mortgage rates and a glut of houses on the market. So there's not a whole lot of new construction, as well as the cost of materials and contractor labor cost are kind of driving that whole industry down. So it wouldn't be surprising to see that your numbers are not growing significantly. General consumer goods, your city is outpacing the national average a little bit. Nationally, things are still very volatile. And just to remind you that sales tax that you receive from general services purchases are purchases that are made physically in Cerritos. So online purchases are not calculated, so you don't get the benefit of that. And so as online purchasing increases, that impacts the people who are going physically to the stores within your community. So that's continues to be a really volatile business sector. Your restaurant sector, there's really three main categories in restaurants. There's your fine dining type restaurants, your fast casual, which are kind of your middle market fast casual, your Paneras and your Chipotles, those types of restaurants. And then you have your fast food. This quarter you had a trifecta in that all three of those categories were up. It's interestingly, as a trend, people are still going out to restaurants on a regular basis. The sweet spot, though, are the fast casual. That's the area that's kind of shoring up everything. A lot of them are are not going as much to the fine dining, as especially fast food prices continue to rise. They're moving away from they said, if I can go to a fast food restaurant and get a hamburger and fries, but then I can go to a Panera and for $1 or $2 more get a nicer sandwich, then they're making those kinds of choices. So, but restaurants in your area or your community are doing well. Business and industry, these are capital equipment purchases for industrial businesses in your community. And again, because of there's not a whole lot of growth in new industrial, and so there's a lot of manufacturing and industry that are not re-outfitting their equipment and plants. So there's kind of a slowdown. Tariffs are also starting to take an effect on that because a lot of the equipment is coming from overseas, and it's such a volatile market right now. People are a little bit skittish about trying to invest large amounts of money in capital improvements for their industrial business. You can go to the next slide. So this is shows your sales tax by your major business groups. And as I mentioned, auto sales obviously is your largest category. The second column is county pool, and that's needs some explanation. The county pool is there are some categories where, like internet sales, that can't be attributed directly to a specific community, so they go to a county-wide pool. That also reflects a lot of business and industry that's coming from maybe overseas directly that can't be attributed to a specific community or a specific business. So they go into this county pool, and there's a formula on a quarterly basis where each city, based upon their population, their industry mix, gets a portion of the county pool. That number has been increasing over time, especially because of online sales. So that's actually your second biggest category. And then you can see you have general consumer goods, business and industry, restaurant, and these are by volume. So those are your major business categories. Next up is we always, on a quarterly basis, provide you with the top 25 producers. And you'll notice that these are in alphabetical order because sales tax information is confidential. So we can't give you specific information on a specific business. So we just give you an alphabetical list of your top 25. You can look at that list, though, and see that it's heavily influenced by auto dealerships and auto services. Next category is just shows you your revenue by business group. And again, autos make up 35% of your overall sales tax collected. And then the county pool is 19%, which is your second largest category, and your business and industry is 15%. So of those three categories, they represent 72% of all of your sales tax revenue. Next. So let me talk a little bit about what some of the statewide trends and forecasts are. The Middle East conflict is really starting to have it has had its impact, but it's really starting to impact sales tax more significantly now than in the last couple of months. Obviously, everyone's aware of the higher fuel prices, but sometimes they don't recognize the fact how that equates to the delivery of goods and services. So you know how much you pay at the pump for your car, but if you can imagine the trucks that have to transport goods and services, their prices have gone up. Fuel for airlines, fuel for shipping, all of those are impacted. So the cost of goods and services are really starting to feel that impact now. Fluctuating tariffs, as the tariffs over the last several months keep fluctuating up and down, it's really hard for some industries to figure out and gauge how much of what volume of product that they want to import. The auto industry is one that's really starting to hit now because they had pretty much a glutton of inventory here in the United States on their lots. A lot of that inventory, though, is now being exhausted, so they're having to start to import that and parts, and so that's really starting to take its toll. And it's the uncertainty too that's part of the problem with this whole area. Restaurant sales, again, I mentioned, continue to rise. As I mentioned, auto sales are flat because of the high prices and the tariffs and the material costs. But overall, we are looking at statewide for the next quarter, being cautiously optimistic with some modest growth, but it's also can be tempered by whatever happens with tariffs and the continuing conflict and inflation. So those are all, the unknown factors, which are three big, very unknown factors. So that's kind of the sales tax picture. I'm going to transition a little bit to what my division does as far as economic development. You can look at this slide. We do a lot of retail recruitment for cities, and we have a lot of experience and have a lot of connections with a lot of the major retailers across the country. And so we can assist cities in how they can bring specific retailers into their city. So here's a couple of observations. Retail retention, I think, is an area that some cities really ignore. They're always trying to bring in somebody new. But I think a lot of cities really need to recognize the fact that you really need to keep the people that you have now, because it's much harder to fill a vacancy than it is to provide support for the retailers that you currently have. So again, we assist cities with shopping centers and vacancies. There's a shopping center in industry, the International Council of Shopping Centers. It's an international organization that holds a number of deal-making events throughout the year. Their largest one is in Las Vegas in May, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that attend that. And that's the real show that we go to, where we try and match up cities with potential retailers. So we have a pretty good pulse on what's going on nationally with the retail market. Next slide. So what are some of the takeaways? So when we've been talking to a lot of retailers over the last couple of years, there is still a real problem with institutional capital being available for developing new shopping centers. So shopping center developers are very, very cautious and are very picky as far as when they decide to build and develop a new shopping center. There is, I'll jump to the last one. There's also, as far as vacancies, there's also really tight supply for prime space. There are a lot of vacancies, but a lot of those vacancies are what are the mid-size, your former Toys R Us stores, your Bed Bath & Beyonds, and those are very hard spaces to fill because there's not a whole lot of retailers out there that are looking for that size of space. And there are so many vacancies that the businesses that may want to relocate into a community are really playing one community off the next. You know, if you've got a former Toys R Us vacancy and your property landlord is trying to negotiate with them, if they don't get the deal that they want, there's another Toys R Us 2 cities down vacant that I can go to. So they're really negotiating very heavily. And the last one is there is still a lot of pressure on tenants, especially your small mom and pop tenants. It may look like I said, your restaurants are up, but it doesn't take into account that the profit margins for a lot of especially those small mom and pop restaurants are really, really tight. They're a lot tighter than they were prior to COVID. And when they started recovering from COVID, then they got things like, supply chain issues and costs of food. And it's something that I think cities should really pay attention to, especially when you're talking to your small businesses, to let them know you understand that they may be, filling their seats and they may be generating the sales tax, but I understand you may have a 5% margin, now you're at a 2% margin, and your labor costs are going up, your food costs are going up. So that's a real hidden area that we really try and emphasize to cities is pay attention to that and make sure that you're catering to those small businesses, especially the restaurants. So next slide. So some of the things that we do in our division is we help cities to position themselves to better be to market their cities. We have a couple of reports that we help cities generate. Market analytics, which is not just demographics, but it looks at drive time. What is your population at a 10-mile drive time? Because that's what people are really looking at. They're not looking what's down the street from me, but what's within a 10-mile drive time, what's within a drive time for where I work. So if you have a business community that has a lot of daytime population, what's their drive time? So we have some reports that take a look at that. We have one, what's called a void analysis. We take a look at where are people shopping. Your residents, are they shopping in Cerritos, or are they going outside Cerritos because there are some goods and services that they can't get here? And so when we do that kind of analysis, when a city has a vacancy and they're looking to fill it, they can actually say, hey, we don't have a shoe store here. Or that's as an example. Our people are having to go outside the city to buy shoes. So if you have a vacancy that fits the criteria for a shoe store, that would be a really good target audience to fill the gap that your residents are missing right now. And then lastly, I have placed on your dais a copy of this California Retail Analytics. This is an annual report that we prepare, and we identify a number of retailers that are expanding in the Southern California market. This way, you're not spinning your wheels to try and go after somebody, a retailer that may be a national chain, but doesn't have a presence in California or isn't expanding. So, it's got a lot of good information as far as the retailers, square footage that they're desiring, sales tax per square foot. So this helps the city's economic development teams to be able to help to target the market that they're looking for. So with that, that's my presentation. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Duran, thank you so much. Fantastic presentation. I think I can speak for all of us that you are speaking our language. We really enjoy that a lot. Questions from the commission? Commissioner Hugh.
Okay, yeah. I agree that we should support and retain the existing business first. I
Right.
think, okay. So do you have any idea how can we do it? How can we support and, support their business? I need some ideas from you.
I think a lot of it is identifying who those businesses are and having city staffs have a proactive approach in reaching out to those businesses, finding out if there are certain needs that aren't being met. You can do things like we have a shop local program, a community gift card program that we administer on behalf of some cities to try and keep those local dollars local. If there's clusters of businesses in a downtown or in a congregated area, talk to them and see are there impediments? Is parking an issue for them? Is signage an issue for them? So any ways that you can help, but you have to understand what their needs are first, and then you can try and help them to identify how can we help you to overcome what those obstacles are.
Yeah, see, I couldn't believe that we don't have a Chamber of Commerce no more, and also a few shopping centers, closed, and then put a residential units there, like Broomfield and Artesia, northeast of Broomfield and Artesia. It's such a good location for business. 91 freeway right there, and then they put an apartment, and then the city lost how much sales tax the city lost. So that time, we can build a hotel over there. It was approved for 130 Hilton hotels there, and then they closed. Now Broomfield and the South close again. So I don't know why the city of Cerritos is no more business friendly anymore. So I think maybe in the future you should give us, city manager or city staff some ideas.
Be happy to meet with staff anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hugh. Commissioner Tagley.
Thank you for the report. Yeah, I always find these interesting. Not always good news, but in this case, it looks like there's some good news. I'm curious on the uptick on consumer goods in restaurants, which is certainly the percent change is encouraging. But I'm wondering for Cerritos specifically, Are we bucking any trends here? Are we only up in restaurants and consumer goods because the rest of the region and the state are, or is there something Cerritos is doing in particular that you think that are driving those numbers?
I think, within the region, around you, restaurants are up, as I said, especially in the Southern California area. So you're in line with that. Consumer goods, it really is dependent upon the mix of stores that you have in your community. I mean, you've got some pretty significant stores, so you are more of a draw from outside of your community for some of your bigger box and some of your retailers. So you have that advantage. So you're probably up a little bit more than some of your surrounding communities because you have a good mix already.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I guess related to this more broadly, what are the trends, I guess, in the percentage of sales tax revenue coming from outside Cerritos and surrounding cities? So what I'm getting at is Cerritos still considered a destination that residents from around the region, the county, even Orange County, would still want to come and shop and dine at Cerritos, even if they're not necessarily living in the city or in close proximity?
We don't have that data right now because that's, all we get, from the sales tax standpoint is, what's being purchased where. However, I mentioned that we do have a report that we can generate, which is a resident versus non-resident report, which can give you that information if that's something you and your staff would like us to take a look at. And it does take a look at, that differentiation between, residents shopping in Cerritos and non-resident shopping in Cerritos.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. Maybe the commission would as well. Just overall trends is in terms of, I think as in economic development, we're looking at growth drivers, and obviously a lot of the growth is going to need to continue to be driven by non-residents and folks who, again, want to shop and dine in Cerritos.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
your auto dealerships,
Yeah,
the vast majority of that is non-resident.
Yeah, although that was interesting because we had a presentation from the about the auto dealership, the Auto Square, a couple of sessions ago, and they were saying because of the change in consumer behavior there and a lot of transactions being mostly done online, that to I think what you had cited before, they're not necessarily coming to the dealerships directly to complete their transactions. So that's kind of a shift in behavior that I think the dealer associations have to deal with. So, okay. My final one on retail recruitment, and I'm glad you're on the economic development side as well. So I asked this, and I've asked this before, but I think the answer can change over time as the economy changes. But when you're talking to potential businesses looking to relocate or create new locations, what are you seeing today in 2026 as being sort of the drawing points for Cerritos, and maybe what are the challenges that some of these retailers are looking at when they're considering Cerritos?
I think as I said, they're much more selective right now, and they have certain projections that they want to try and meet. And so, like I said, it's much more competitive. They want to look at, what is your traffic count, what is your population, what is your drive time counts, and does that fit within their, what their projections are. They're also very cognizant right now about cannibalizing other locations because the market has gotten so competitive. So, where before their model may be that we'll put a store within 7 miles of an existing. Now they may be saying, that still may be, if we put a new one in 7 miles away, are we going to cannibalize, the shoppers at that store? So they're really looking at that element of it a little bit more closely than they used to in the past. In fact, we've done a couple of studies for specific cities that we're looking at a big box retailer coming in next door, and how is that going to impact their big box? And so, that is a factor that, that retailers are starting to really pay a little bit more close attention to.
Thank you, Mr. Ram.
Thank you, Commissioner Tagle. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair Ayers. And thank you, Mr. Duncan, for the report. I was wondering if staff can put on the screen for us the bar graph, because I have a few questions about that bar graph. Oh, thank you. So I want to ask about something you said at the beginning of the presentation. You said that, if I heard you correctly, you said that Cerritos sales tax was flat, which I guess is commensurate with a minus 0.2%.
Yes.
But then you said that the state as a whole was also flat, but I see plus 4%.
Well,
So
yeah, it's modest
can you
growth.
explain?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
modest
so-
growth. Yeah,
Okay, I see. So 4% is considered flat then.
yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, and in the report that you didn't go into that detail during the presentation, but in the report, it said that the drop in sales tax was minus 6%, but then correcting for aberration, it went down to minus 0.2%. And my question is that correction the difference between the cash basis and the accrual basis, which is basically when we receive it versus when we earn it?
It could be, there's a couple of factors. That could be one of them. Other ones could be aberrations in any redemptions that are, because sometimes it lags. Sometimes a business won't pay for one quarter over another. They're supposed to pay on a quarterly basis, but sometimes they'll skip a quarter. So we have to take into consideration some of those aberrations. Also, we're always looking for miscalculations or misallocations rather for your community. So if we see a business that looks like they should be generating more than they are, then we'll kind of look into it a little bit more. Maybe they're allocating some of that revenue to another city, another location that they have. So those are some of the aberrations that are factored into it.
So I guess it's mostly correction for cash basis to accrual basis, and also if there are any errors in the calculation for how much should go to Cerritos.
Right.
Right. Okay. And then finally, the biggest drop here is in the bar graph between this year and last year is the auto and transportation. Which it looks like it's greater than minus 0.2%. I guess it's offset by the increase in the general consumer goods and a little bit of increase in the county and state pool. So my question is this drop also seen across the state, or is it just something that we should worry about here in our auto mall?
It's auto sales across the state, there's a drop. Yours is more dramatic because of the volume of auto dealerships that you have. If you have a city that only has one or two auto dealerships, they're going to see a drop, but it's not going to have that huge variation that your city has.
So basically what that tells me is that the state sales tax is not as dependent on auto sales as Cerritos' sales
Correct.
tax, right?
Yes.
That's a fair statement?
Yeah, there are a number of cities that don't have any auto sales or auto dealerships, so.
I'm talking about the state as a whole, right?
Yes, but but statewide, there are a number of cities that don't have auto dealerships, so there are other industries that make that up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Mr. Duran, fantastic presentation. I could literally talk to you about this stuff all night long, which I will not do because nobody wants to hear you and I talk for the next 2 hours. Again, and this is not me attacking the messenger. This is just me clarifying. I don't know if you were told this is an advisory body. We're appointed by council people and the mayor. So Councilwoman Hong appoints Commissioner Hugh, Councilman Yokoyama, Vice Mayor Polito, and Mayor Johnson. So so when we give advice to our council people and mayors, I want to make sure that this is on point. Again, I'm reading off what you gave us. The auto transportation sector continued to face headwinds from elevated pricing and financing costs declining 5.1% over the quarter. You also, further in that paragraph, you put building and construction continued to be soft nationwide due to material pricing and higher interest rates, ending down 4.6%, correct?
That's in the report, yes.
Yes, correct. So again, myself and I know Commissioner Hugh as well, we have been adamant with our council people because there's always, we have to balance budgets and taxes, but we've been adamant that there probably should be no taxes whatsoever on big box items, specifically auto sales. That would would really damage our auto square. And so that was, so make sure when I send this back to the mayor, like, see, told you. Also, further on in the second paragraph, second column, the city of Cerritos defied the trend with a 6.6 sector growth business industry, the busiest sector for the quarter, experiencing growth in multiple sectors as business pushed past economic concerns. I have argued from this dais and as an economist for quite a while that whenever we have an economic downturn, specifically inflation, volatility in the market, that people stop buying cars, they stop taking trips, but they don't necessarily stop going to restaurants because they have to eat, if they have a family. In your estimations, and again, I'm not asking you to project any more than you possibly can, but do you think that in the short term, accounting for volatility and future tariffs, do you think that's expected to continue? That we can expect to see somewhere between 4 to 6% growth in our restaurant sector?
You know, I didn't prepare this report, so
Okay.
other staff did. So I really can't answer that directly. But I think you hit the point. The volatility is what's really going to be the driving force. So I think that's why I said, I think the one slide we said cautiously optimistic, but cautiously is the key word, because if there's, something, if the conflict and the gas prices continue to rise, that's going to have a rippling effect for all industries. So depending on how long that lasts, and again, the tariff issue is another one that is so volatile, depending on your, the goods and services that you import from other countries and what their tariffs are, how's that going to impact you? So I don't want to avoid the answer, but part of it is I didn't prepare the report. The other is I can just give you some of the statewide trend.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Again, I'm not killing the messenger. I realize you didn't do that. Just situations where I like to have I'm that type of person where I like to have my facts in order. This is why it's happening. This is why it may continue, or this is why we might see an aberration, things of that nature. So I can be as on point as humanly possible. Thank you for mentioning that online is bad for us, that we should actually, for the city of Cerritos, I've been saying that for quite a while, that, as convenient as it is much better to actually, if you can, make it to Macy's or Nordstrom in our mall or Kohl's in our town center, go there. It's just better for the city. Again, we talked on uncertainty and inflationary issues. Thank you again. I've also talked about, I've said this when I was teaching economics decades ago. Retail retention is so much more valuable. We obviously want new businesses. We like the shiny new car, but retaining the businesses we have and supporting them in any way we possibly can, shop, dine, Cerritos, et cetera, some of the activities we have here is critical. We have to support our own city. It's just the way it is. People don't always want to hear that. Like you said, they sometimes, if I'm within 10 miles, no, go within 2 miles. And we have a town center, so thank you for that. Also, I'm sure Ms. Morano can get you our business card. We definitely have some needs for retail recruitment, specifically late night dining in Cerritos. I don't know if you know, we have a theater next door. George Thorogood is there tonight, which I'm missing, but that's okay. That's fine. But we used to have Fridays, and you said some businesses have gone under, and they were our late night hub when people came out of the theater, and they went under about, 10 months ago now, 12 months ago, and we are really lacking late night eatery, where when they come out of the theater, show ends about 10:30, we don't want them getting in their car and then driving back to Monrovia or Montebello or even Lakewood or Long Beach. We want them finishing up their evening here, dropping off the last of their money, and then they can go home. Currently, they're not doing that. They come out of the theater, the town center is dark and quiet, and they get in their car and they get out of here. So anything, if we can talk later, maybe after the meeting, you said you have contacts with ICSC. I might have written that down wrong.
Yeah.
I would be more than happy to talk to you and maybe set something up with the city manager if we could. So thank you so much for the presentation. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on. See, it wasn't that long. Okay, review and consideration. Agenda 6. What do we do? Public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to open that for public comment. Please state your name for the record, sir.
David Pileman, 7842 Sun Valley Way. Mr. Reyes, this is the first time I've appeared before this commission. I am a regular speaker at council meetings and other commissions. So I've done my part on sales tax. I recently purchased a car at the Cerritos Auto Square, a new car. So the reason I'm rising to speak tonight is that One of the issues that continues to come up is the sales tax on food trucks. And so, of course, we've had two recent events here in the city that have brought in a lot of people and have brought in a lot of food trucks. So I think this is an issue that maybe you should put your thumb on to see how we can work to gain some more of our sales tax from the food trucks that we host into the city. And of course, many of the comments that the presenter here are going to be covered in your next item, which I have followed closely on both the Planning Commission and the Council. So thanks for the opportunity to speak, and I would hope that we can figure out a way to get the sales tax from all those food trucks that have been in the city in the last 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else for public comment? See no further comment. Public comment for 6C. We'll move on to 6D. 6D, review and consideration of an information report regarding economic development updates in the city of Cerritos, including building permit activity and ongoing development projects. Ms. Miranda.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the Economic Development Commission. The presentation for item 60 this evening will be given by Community Development Management Analyst Marielle Angelis. At this time, I would like to turn your attention to Ms. Angelis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miranda. Good evening, Chair and members of the Economic Development Commission. My name is Marielle Angelis, Management Analyst for the Department of Community Development. The City of Cerritos continues to experience strong reinvestment across all sectors, reflecting business confidence and community growth. Each effort advances the City Council's strategic plan goal number 4, strengthen economic development by maintaining Cerritos' high standards for design, business retention, and balanced growth. Building permit activity continues to reflect positive reinvestment throughout the city. As shown in the table, the city issued 1,120 permits and finaled 1,011 permits. On average, the city processes approximately 160 permits per month, representing steady construction levels across residential, commercial, and industrial projects. This ongoing activity demonstrates strong private investment in property upgrades, tenant improvements, and new development, further reinforcing the city's economic vitality. In the following slides, I will provide a brief overview of ongoing development activity throughout the city. These projects enhance quality of life by improving commercial areas, restaurants, and residential neighborhoods while creating local employment opportunities. Additionally, these development projects illustrate continued reinvestment and progress toward achieving the City of Cerritos Strategic Plan Goal number 4, strengthen economic development. Improvement plans for a new restaurant, Angelo's Burgers, at the former Boys Hamburger site located at 13759 Artesia Boulevard were finally completed in July 2026. The project included minor interior and exterior improvements to refresh the existing restaurant building, such as a new tile roof, minor interior remodeling, and refurbished landscaping. Angelo's Burgers is ready for operation as a sit-down fast food restaurant. In conversations with the business owner, an opening date has not yet been determined at this time. As for residential projects, in September 2025, the city approved the development of 2 new single-family residences and 1 accessory dwelling unit, specifically located at 17500 and 17506 Parkvale Place. Previously, this property fronted Artesia Boulevard. After construction, access to the homes will be provided along the residential street instead of the larger arterial. The homes feature a modern farmhouse architectural style with wood siding and decorative garage doors. Construction continues at the project site, with foundation, slab, and framing inspections completed in April 2026. The Keystone Plaza Shopping Center is currently under renovation. The City Council-approved project incorporates craftsman-style architecture and detailed facade improvements designed to complement the adjacent Cerritos Plaza. Phase 1 of facade improvements are complete. Business signage has been reinstalled, and minor landscaping upgrades are in the process of being completed. Phase 2, which involves refacing the Chase Bank building, received plan check approval in November 2025, and permits were issued in April 2026. Construction is progressing towards completion with foundation, framing, and roof sheathing inspections completed in June 2026. The Ford Automobile Reconditioning Facility will serve the existing Ford dealership within the Cerritos Auto Square. The project includes new interior work areas, a customer lounge, and upgraded facade materials. Landscape and parking lot improvements are also included. Building permits were issued in February 2026, and a permit for the project monument sign was issued in March 2026. Construction is currently underway. At 16323 Shoemaker Avenue, plans are underway for a 159,000 square foot industrial facility replacing an older building on site. The project's contemporary design includes decorative panels and stacked stone accents. Demolition of the existing building has been completed, and all primary building permits for the construction of the new industrial building have been issued. Construction is currently underway, with the building walls now being erected. Work is expected to continue through late 2026. At Edwards Road, 2 existing office buildings will be replaced by a new 58,000 square foot industrial facility. The design features smooth tilt-up concrete walls with decorative stone and contemporary architectural detailing. Demolition of the existing buildings has been completed, and all primary building permits for the construction of the new industrial building were issued in March 2026. The project is currently underway, with grading and construction activities expected to commence soon. At 18,000 Studebaker Road, Suite 100, plans are underway to demolish 35,000 square feet of interior space at an existing office building to accommodate SL Preventative Medical Center, a Korean health screening facility offering comprehensive wellness and preventive health examinations in partnership with advisory support from Seoul National University Bundang Hospital. Tenant improvement plans to remodel the interior were received in November 2025, and in January 2026, plans for interior demolition were approved. Building permits were issued in July 2026, and work to remodel the interior space is expected to commence soon. In March 2026, exterior modifications to the Home Goods Trader Joe's stores located at 12865 Town Center Drive were approved. Improvements include the relocation of a compactor from the dock area, the creation of a new wall opening for the relocated compactor, and a new opening connecting Trader Joe's to a new loading corridor. Additional improvements include the installation of a new overhead dock door and upgraded lighting and mechanical systems. All these improvements intend to accommodate and more efficiently manage increased inventory and delivery activity for both retail stores. In July 2026, building permits were issued, allowing construction to commence. The city is pleased to share that Chick-fil-A restaurant within the Los Cerritos Center is proposing a remodel that includes a new drive-through service canopy, trash enclosure upgrades, and refreshed interior finishes. The design review of the project was completed in December 2025. All permits for the project, including building, landscape, and signage permits, have been issued, and construction is currently underway. The restaurant is temporarily closed to allow for construction, with reopening anticipated in fall 2026. Tokyo Central, a Japanese specialty grocery store, is proposed within the former Pacific Sales tenant space in Cerritos Town Center. The store will be operated by a team affiliated with Marukai, a well-established Japanese grocery brand in Southern California. The project includes a comprehensive interior remodel to accommodate grocery operations, customer circulation, and updated fixtures, along with minor exterior improvements associated with the build-out. Improvement plans have passed planning and Los Angeles County plan check review, and city staff is working with the applicant and contractor for permit issuance in the coming weeks. Construction is expected to commence shortly thereafter. And once completed, the project will introduce a unique specialty retail use to the town center area and further enhance the diversity of shopping options available in Cerritos. The new industrial building at 17600 Crusader Avenue has received all necessary approvals. The 75,000 square foot facility features smooth concrete walls, stone accents, and enhanced landscaping. Grading permits were issued in March 2026, and issuance of building permits is anticipated in the coming months. Since the preparation of this agenda report, the applicant has submitted a request for a zone and use change. This item was brought before the Planning Commission on August 5th, 2026, for review and consideration for Development Map Amendment 2026-2 to change the zoning classification of the property from industrial to industrial commercial, and Conditional Use Permit 2026-2 to permit the operation of a non-customer facing automotive repair facility, private car wash, and vehicle parking facility to support existing Auto Square dealerships. A conditional use permit amendment has been issued for the property located at 10621 Midway Avenue. The amendment includes site improvements such as new signage, fencing, exterior painting, parking lot restriping, and new frontage landscaping, utilizing water-saving plant material. Plan check was approved in July 2026, and city staff continues to work with the applicant for permit issuance. In January 2026, the Cerritos City Council approved the establishment of Area Development Plan 20, or ADP 20, for the commercial shopping center located at the southwest corner of Bloomfield Avenue and South Street. The zoning update was completed in response to implications related to Assembly Bill 2011 and allows for both commercial and residential uses at the subject property. In April 2026, the city received demolition plans for the former Carol's Restaurant building located at 19011 Bloomfield Avenue. The demolition is proposed in conjunction with ground remediation efforts intended to prepare the site for future development opportunities. While no formal development application has been submitted at this time, staff continues to receive inquiries from prospective developers, residential developers, expressing interest in the property following demolition activities. In March 2026, the city received tenant improvement plans for a Ross Dress for Less store to be located in the former Saks Off Fifth tenant space at 11113 183rd Street. Improvements are proposed for a complete remodel of the existing tenant space, including plans for fire sprinklers, on-site repaving, store signage, mechanical unit replacement, roof or wall modifications, minor storefront alterations, and interior adjustments. Plans are currently under planning review, and the applicant has submitted an application for a city business license. At this time, city staff is unaware if the existing store location at the Cerritos Town Center will remain open. However, the city continues to work with the applicant to facilitate the establishment of the business at this location. Clarkdale Estate Homes, which was approved last year, will bring 5 new 2-story residences, each with an accessory dwelling unit, to Cerritos close to Norwalk Boulevard and the 91 Freeway and Juarez Elementary. The homes feature contemporary architecture and detailed landscaping. Plans are currently under review, especially to ensure new housing developments are equipped with safe drinking water due to reclaimed water lines that exist on site. It should be noted that in order to facilitate processing of plans for this housing development, grading permits have been issued to enable utility improvements and other site preparation activities in advance of construction. Staff continues to work with the applicant to facilitate construction permits while outstanding utility issues are resolved. Once completed, the project will add high-quality residential options to Cerritos. In October 2025, the City Council approved an assignment of a ground lease of a city-owned property located at 12898 Town Center Drive to Scan Health Plan, a California nonprofit public benefit corporation. The organization provides Medicare Advantage coverage enhanced with additional benefits, including prescription drug coverage, in-home support, transportation, and wellness programs. In April 2026, the City of Cerritos received demolition plans to prepare the office building for Scan Health Plan to operate at the subject property. Permits for interior demolition were issued in May 2026, and demolition was completed in June 2026. The city has since received tenant improvement plans for newly designed office and lobby spaces, which are currently under planning review. The city is pleased to share that Ono Hawaiian Barbecue is planned for the Cerritos Town Center and will occupy 2 existing vacant spaces. The project includes interior reconfiguration for kitchen, dining, and restroom areas, along with installation of new building systems and equipment. Permits for landlord improvements were completed in March 2026, and tenant improvement plans were submitted shortly thereafter. Plans are currently under Los Angeles County Plan Check review, and approvals are anticipated in the near future. On July 27, 2026, the Cerritos City Council approved the exterior remodel of a portion of the Carmenita Plaza North Shopping Center, located at the northwest corner of Carmenita Road and Artesia Boulevard. The project includes exterior facade renovations and related site improvements to the existing commercial buildings located on the northern 3 parcels of the shopping center, including the vacant anchor tenant space, existing inline commercial retail tenant spaces, and the existing bank building. The improvements are intended to modernize the appearance of the shopping center and enhance the overall visual quality of the property. The existing inline commercial retail buildings along Artesia Boulevard, the existing liquor store, and the corner gas station are under separate ownership and are not included in this project. However, since the August 5th Planning Commission meeting, the owner of the adjacent liquor store property has expressed interest in proposing similar exterior improvements to the building. And finally, as you may be aware, after issuance of a demolition permit in April 2026, demolition of the former Sears building is currently underway, marking the beginning of the expansion of Los Cerritos Center. Following the submission of a demolition permit, the city received a comprehensive design package for a new tenant building for the construction of a new 141,000 square foot, 2-story retail and sports experience store, Dick's House of Sport. The proposed development includes construction of loading areas and an outdoor athletic field that will serve as an accessory experiential sports component of the retail use. The project is designed to combine traditional retail sales with interactive sports experiences, including indoor climbing walls, golf simulators, batting cages, equipment demonstration areas, and other athletic amenities that allow customers to test, practice, and customize sporting equipment. The new store is sure to increase retail capacity, enabling Dick's Sporting Goods to offer a greater variety of merchandise for customers to try and evaluate in person prior to purchase. In conclusion, the level of development activity throughout Cerritos reflects continued confidence from businesses, property owners, and investors in the city's long-term strength and stability. These projects modernize the built environment, enhance the city's appeal, and generate new employment opportunities. The city remains focused on maintaining high-quality design standards, supporting business partnerships, and advancing projects that align with the City Council's strategic goals. Collectively, these efforts reinforce Cerritos' leadership in economic development and ensure the community's sustained prosperity and quality of life. At this time, it is recommended that the Commission review and discuss the information provided and receive and file this report. This concludes my presentation, and at this time, staff is available to answer any questions that the Commissioners may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Fantastic report. Questions from the Commissioners? Ms. Hugh?
No question. It's good report. Thank you.
Good report. Commissioner Tagley?
Yeah, great report. A lot of good news here, so happy to read it. I'm curious on the last item with Dick's House of Sport. That's definitely a tremendous acquisition, probably unique among where retail and mall spaces are these days. I'm wondering, though, related, there had been discussion in the past of Macerich using that property for consideration of mixed-use developments or a hotel or anything like that. Does this eliminate that possibility, or is that still on the table somewhere else on the Macerich property?
Thank you, Commissioner Tagley, for that question. With the development of Dick's House of Sport, it is solely focused on the former Sears property, so it does not preclude the development of housing, which this is a site within the city's housing element site. So it does allow for residential to be built on site, and the city continues to work with Macerich for development of a hotel.
Okay, great. On the greater mall site
Greater
still
Mall site.
somewhere. Okay, so that's still on the table.
Correct.
All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, to the point about sales tax, I've always harped on that. That's potentially a sales tax revenue opportunity. So, um, not as much a question, but a comment. Again, a lot of great news here. I think what would be good context for the commission in the future is to see conversely, where we may be, to the point earlier about the presentation, about retention as well. It would be interesting to compare and contrast retention efforts to see where we've been successful and maybe where we have lost businesses. And it looks like we're obviously doing a lot to acquire new ones to replace. But I think for context for the commission, it might be helpful to see that side of it as well. Not that I want to harp on the bad news, but just to learn from, right? To the earlier point about economic development, that includes retention of businesses as well as acquisition of new properties. So I don't know if that's something you've produced in the past, but I'd be interested in seeing something like that in the future.
Thank you for the suggestion, Commissioner. Staff will take that in accordingly for the future report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tagle. Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. What a great report to see a lot of economic activity. My question is on the at the beginning of the presentation, where you talk about the permits that have been issued. Do we have a sense of how the numbers of permits issued this year compared to last year and the year before?
Thank you, Commissioner Barlevy. Yes, staff does have the information. We track it annually, so we do have the information. It's also within the budget book that is published. At this moment, I do not have 2025 or 2024 numbers on hand, but we could provide a follow-up with previous years' numbers.
And then I'm wondering, you have two columns. One column is permits that are issued, and other columns are permits that are finalized. I wonder if staff, I think when there's a permit, it's good for a year. So I wonder if staff has statistics on what percentage of permits never get finalized for whatever reason.
Thank you. Yes, that number today I do not have that number, but that number the staff does have on hand. You're correct. Where permits are good for 1 year. However, if there's continual activity on the permits, that means inspections that are continually to occur, that extends the length of the permit. So long as there's activity within the last 6 months, permits continue to be active.
So does the applicant have to request an extension, or is it granted?
It's upon your last inspection that was
Okay.
performed, and inspections are requested by contractors or the project applicant.
So as long as there was an inspection in the previous 6 months, it'll get extended.
It provides the valid from whenever your permit was issued. Your permit will be valid since will be active from 6 months from.
So is
that
there a
time of
fee to
inspection.
extend the permit?
I wouldn't say it's a permit extension. It's just that your permit remains active.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so I guess
My
it's
apologies.
active.
It's active.
That's the
It's not an
correct-
extension.
Okay,
Mhm.
I see.
If
Okay.
you do need to extend your permit because there has not been any activity, there is a cost associated with that. So, and we follow, it's pursuant to the building code. Applicants are granted opportunities for extension if they need. There's a set number of extensions. However, if you continue to make progress on your project, it just remains active.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Staff, thank you so much. Fantastic report. You took my question on Sears and the hotel. Oh, well, then I would look silly. Anyway, again, just to piggyback off what you guys said and what Mr. Duran just got done with his presentation, retail recruitment is essential. So yeah, I'd love to see this, not only that we're rebuilding stuff, but trying to bring new businesses in. Again, it's basic economics. People vote with their feet and they vote with their wallets. If they can't get goods and services here in Cerritos, they're going to go somewhere else. That's just the bottom line. They're not going to settle for less because and I think Mr. Duran hit it right on the head with they usually have a 7 to 10 mile radius. If they can't get it here, they'll go to Lakewood. They'll go to Long Beach or wherever they're going to get what they want. So great job, staff. Keep up the good work. All right, moving on. Reports. Agenda item 7A. Reports from designated commission staff liaison, Ms. Miranda.
Thank you, Chair. No items to report tonight.
All right, thank you so much. Reports from the Economic Development Commission members. Agenda item 7B. Commissioner Hugh.
No report, thank you.
No report. Fantastic. Commissioner Tagley.
Yeah, I would just say a couple of items I attended since we last met a couple of months ago. Which I thought were good events. The July 4th event here, we all participated in. I think in some form, so it was good to see a lot of you out there, as well as the National Night Out last week. Having a child here, these are events that are very good, child friendly, and so forth. But I would like, in the guise of economic development and revenue generation and the discussion about sales tax, I would just like the commission and obviously all of you staff consider this all the time, but ways to make those types of city events, which are very valuable as cultural programs and family events, but also should be revenue generators. I think there's always opportunity for that if we can find ways to see how we can have these events, but have them generate revenue again through sales of food or sponsorships or more booths. There are a lot of, just from my own observation and from having worked in other sectors, many private non-city sponsored events or non-county, non-government events in not just Cerritos, but surrounding communities that can turn these public events into more revenue generators, whether it's around arts and culture or sports, like World Cup events, which are private that I attended a lot. A lot of those have brought in surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, pretty large levels of sponsorships and private investment that ultimately generates revenues, I think, for the city that's hosting it. So, and to the point the gentleman made earlier about sales tax on food trucks, things like that. Like think of ways that we can partner with all of these organizations to make these line items on a budget not just expenses. Hey, let's have a 4th of July event and let's just spend X amount. But how do we generate revenue with these large scale events where a lot of residents and non-residents and families and folks from the region come out? How do we generate more revenues on the basis of that, given our current economic environment? So, no concrete suggestions. I enjoy those events immensely, but just maybe ways. Commission always thinks about this, and especially Al. But how do we take these great events and make them more positive revenue generators rather than just seeing them as expenses, a line item expenses on a budget? I think there's plenty of opportunity for that. These are like events that the city of Cerritos are traditions, are well rooted, but maybe why not make more revenue while we're doing it? So, just my closing thought. But thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Tagley. Were you looking at my notes? 4th of July National Night Out. Are you looking at my stuff?
I saw you there on stage at the 4th of July.
Vice Chair Barlevy.
Thank you. Just like Commissioner Tagley and Chair Reyes, I attended those two events, the National Night Out and concert at the park and the July 4th Lit Freedom Ring. I'm really, really glad that we still are able to put those events on, even though we've had some severe budget issues. So it's great. And I also, just yesterday, I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony at the Frontier Park. That's it. For a picnic shelter area. So that's it.
Yes, Frontier Park. That wasn't on my notes. Frontier Park was reopened yesterday. Fantastic job by staff redeveloping that park in the picnic shelter area. I don't live there now. I live on the other side, but I grew up next to Frontier Park, so it was good to see that finally. A couple things. Congratulations to the theater on the John Legend season opener. Massive sellout. Islands was packed. Wood Ranch was packed. The restaurants, the town center. From what I saw online, which I'm not online a whole lot, but they were trying to scalp tickets 2 hours before showtime for up to like $3,000. So that's just, again, supply and demand. I'm certainly not condoning scalping. Don't go out and buy things illegally. However, it shows that when you put in first-class acts, that's the kind of financial windfall we get here in Cerritos. Followed by last Saturday, which was the Little River Band. Again, another sellout. People were spending money. As I've stated several times before, we get a cut of the merchandise. We get a cut of the food and beverage sales. So again, that's a win for the city that helps fund our Frontier Park and helps fund our National Night Out, our 4th of July. And tonight, George Thorogood is going on. If I can possibly make it over there after this meeting, I will. But before this meeting, I was at Islands and Wood Ranch, and once again, long lines, a lot of people there buying food and drink. So that's good for us. To piggyback off what the gentleman and Commissioner Hughes said, restaurants were packed during the World Cup. They were packed. A lot of people watching. I think we need to do that further going forward with the Olympics in 2028, which I'll touch on again. I didn't want to prolong the meeting with Mr. Duran when he was here, so I kind of cut this question out. But we have to be very cognizant, again, cautiously optimistic. I think our restaurant sales were up, and I think the theater, as long as Jeff continues to do his job and the city staff does their job, the theater will continue to be an economic driver. Restaurants will continue to be filled. However, when, again, theater's not open in July, they do their maintenance during that month. We're a little slow around the Christmas season or post-Christmas. Not a lot of acts want to book shows during that time. Probably what kept us going that we didn't talk about, the Super Bowl, as well as Celebration 250 and the World Cup. Some of the research I've been reading, and it does concern me, is a lot of money was being spent, which is great. How much of it was being spent on credit cards, how much of it was spent because people had gotten their tax refund and now they had money to spend. Those are things that, are probably not sustainable, or certainly not every single quarter. So we have to look at that going forward. Also, something that we should think about, and this is parallel to the World Cup. I have friends in other cities, and again, this is off the record, which I'm going to say it on the record because there are national teams that are going to be here for the Olympics in 2028. They are already contacting cities and saying, hey, we want our athletes to come in early. Can you hook us up with lodging, whether it's at a Sheraton or whether it's there's 11 events that are going to be contested in Long Beach. And so they're trying to rent out Long Beach state dormitories. And they want, hey, is there a weight room? Is there workout areas that our athletes can, for the week or two prior to the opening ceremonies, that we can get our drills in? If they're in crew, they want access to Appian Way, Alamitos Bay, and Long Beach. And now, why is this significant? Because basically, for my friends who work in those cities, to the south of us towards the water, they're basically, we need this, and we need this. If you can do it, send us an invoice. We're going to pay it. They're not going to ask questions. They're just going to write a big check to those cities that are willing to house their athletes, whether here in LA. And again, we have to realize that even though it says LA Olympics and it's mostly in LA City, there are 11, 12 events that are right next door to Cerritos. And those athletes from those countries are going to want to be here. They're going to be close. They don't want to be in LA or north of LA when they're going to be in Appian Way or Alamitos Bay, doing crew or I think it's triathlon or things of that nature. They want to be in this area. And their national organizations, their national team organizations, or their nation, their country is going to send a big fat check. Besides Long Beach, I found out about an hour before the meeting, after the Olympics, we have the Paralympics. And again, I have to confirm this, so I probably shouldn't say it, but my friend in Downey says that they just cut a deal with Ireland, and all their Paralympic teams are going to be in Downey, and they're going to stay. And they're going to have lodging there. And again, I don't know what events they're in. I have no idea. But again, that's another city that's going to get a great big fat check from the National Athletic Organization of Ireland. And those are things we have to think about when we talk about not just putting a new boiler in the swim center, but redoing that swim center. Artistic swimming was where they practiced back in the '84 games. There's going to be nations that are looking to spend money. And as I just said, that's why I kind of led with what I said before. People vote with their feet in their pocketbook. If they don't spend it here, they're going to go next door and spend it in Downey. Or they're going to go next door and spend it in Lakewood, which again is the hot rumor too. That Lakewood and the Long Beach Unified Schools just built brand new pools, or in the process of building brand new pools. These countries want to rent them out. And they don't care what the cost is, as long as their athletes are taken care of. So again, we talk about economic development and maximizing our venues and our assets. That's exactly what we're talking about. If they're going to come in and just write blank checks so their athletes can stay at the Sheraton, or if we get something at the Sears location. If we have viewing parties with maybe some people that are their family that are, for whatever reason, are not going to go down there, either with our restaurants or at the theater, we should be maximizing our assets. That's what we should be doing. These are things that are not going to come around for another 30, 40 years, and money is going to get spent. So we should be cognizant of that and not just pretend that it's, oh, well, it doesn't affect us. Well, if it doesn't affect us, that's on us. That's not on the rest of the world or Lakewood or Long Beach. That's on us. We should have been more cognizant of like how we can maximize our value with the facilities we have. So, but again, congratulations to the theater, congratulations to staff. Those are fantastic reports. If there's nothing else, I'm going to be really slow before we adjourn because we won't see each other for another 2 or 3 months. So anything from any commissioners? Nope. With that, I will adjourn the meeting. Everybody have a good night.